Hi guys, my name is Roger, and ever since I was a teenager, I've always wanted to build my own car. I started this channel to see if an average person, like me, can design and build their own mid-engine car. If you like what you see here in my videos, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you know someone who you think might be interested in my videos, please share the videos with them. I'll be adding a new video every week, and with that out of the way, let's get started with this week's video. Well, I think I have the gear shifter finished. I added the reverse lockout and then the self-centering spring mechanism, and I'm going to show you both of those. The reverse lockout is just a rib here that bolts on, and when you're going over to try to get to reverse, it's bumping against that rib and it won't let you in unless you press the shifter handle down, and then it'll jump over that rib and you can go into reverse. And then back down to go back over, and then you're limited to first and second riding on this rib. The centering mechanism here is a spring that's surrounding this bolt riding on a bushing, and let's see better up here. And then this pivot shaft here is riding on the spring, has a spring leg on the top and the bottom of it. And as you raise it, it's lifting one leg, and as you push it down, it's lowering the other spring leg. And they're bouncing back, and it just centers that stick. That's what gives you that feel in a manual shifter that you feel. And of course, as you're rocking it, it's translating that side-to-side motion to a front-to-back motion with this bell crank here. So I think I have all this working correctly. I wanted to show you this before I put it back in the car. It's kind of hard to see once it's in the car, but I'll go ahead and mount this back in, and hopefully everything will work correctly and we'll be finished with this and we can move on to something else. Well, that didn't take very long to mount. I guess I had most of the work already done, but I have the two air conditioner condensers mounted here. There is one bolt on this side with some spacers between them, and two bolts on this side with some spacers. Not sure why there's only 3 mounts, but that's all there are, and it seems to be very secure. The bottom of the condensers are the same height as the bottom of the radiators. And I need to try to find the correct hoses and fittings to hook all this together. I ordered some hoses originally when I bought the condensers, hoping they would fit, but they don't. They're a different size connector. So I've got to do some research and try to find out exactly what fits those. One of the hoses goes back to the air conditioner compressor on the engine, and the other hose runs up here and connects to this fitting here. So anyway, I guess that's done for now. I also received a package today. I purchased these 2 heat shields, one on each side. They cover the axles. They protect the axles from the heat coming off the exhaust manifolds. I purchased those. I got a good deal on them. They're used, and I will take and either Scotch-Brite them or bead blast them or something to clean them up and make them look new. But wanted to install them and make sure that they fit okay. This one's a little close to the frame, but there's about 3/16 of an inch between the frame and the shield, and the frame and the transaxle are more or less bolted together, almost solid, and I don't think they're going to flex any, so there shouldn't be any concern over those parts rubbing or touching. Well, after a few days of waiting for parts to come in, I've had some stuff trickle in yesterday and today. And a few things are on back order or haven't arrived yet. And let's go over some of these things. This first box here is fuel fittings and fuel line to finish the fuel system. There's a couple of items like a fuel pressure regulator and a fuel filter that are haven't arrived yet. They're on back order. They'll be here in a couple of days. These next 3 boxes are part of the turbo system, turbochargers, waste gates, stainless steel exhaust manifolds, and all of the plumbing for that. We'll take those out and start looking at them here soon. The Holley digital dash has came in, and it has some pre-programmed panels that are really ugly in my opinion, but the interesting thing is you can program this to be anything you want. This is a screen that I played with for a few minutes this morning, and just to download it on here to see what it would look like, and pretty happy with the results. No longer than I worked on it, but seems like you can do almost anything with this if you have the ability and the time to play with it and experiment. Also, some things I have on order that haven't arrived yet are the Holley ECU and wiring harness for the engine, and the other associated parts that go with that. All of these parts and these boxes that are here and the ones that haven't come in yet are about $12,000 worth of parts. So for people thinking about building your own car, it's pretty expensive. Was kind of hoping to build a car for $100,000, but to be honest, I think it's going to be closer to $125,000 by the time everything is said and done. I'm really hoping I don't go over that, but just wanted to let you guys know, if anyone is curious about building your own car, parts are very expensive. But I'm sure you can get out cheaper than what I have on some things, but I don't think you can cut costs tremendously. But with that said, let's start unboxing some of this exhaust manifolds and turbo parts and taking a look at them. Well, I have the exhaust manifolds and turbos mounted. Just for right now, they're not permanent. Not even sure which direction they're going to point yet. But I was worried about the exhaust manifolds clearing. I thought I may have to cut and weld in a channel or a piece here for clearance. But I have plenty of clearance here for the manifolds. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do here for the spark plugs, because they're going to be touching. I haven't even actually plugged one in, but I believe, yeah, they're hitting. So those ignition coils are going to have to move or turn, rotate, raise higher, something. They are definitely not going to work where they're sitting. I don't know if you can see down in here, but this V-band clamp is all but touching the frame. It just barely clears on this side. I think it might even be touching on the other side. So there's very little clearance there. Another issue, the wastegates were supposed to have been welded in here by the factory. They were supposed to come straight forward and sit right here. And they forgot to do it, but that may be a good thing, because they would definitely hit this dead center, and that would be a big issue. Still may be an issue because I've got to figure out somewhere to put these wastegates. They're supposed to be directly in line with exhaust flow, so that's why they would weld in here directly, and they have to go before the turbos. So I'm either going to have a different fitting here or redo this, and I don't know which. Brings up another question: which ways do I turn the turbos? I have this one rotated kind of inward here at the exhaust port, and this one rotated kind of outward at the exhaust port. This is the air intake, so when it's turned this direction, obviously air coming in would come over from a scoop over here somewhere and come straight in. That would be a good line of sight. But the air coming out has to come out this port and loop around and back over into the intake here, and that's going to be a nightmare, although maybe not impossible. And this side, this might be a little bit more simple. It's tight. I don't know if it's simple or not, but it looks more simple. It may not be when I start working on the geometry. But back here for fresh air intake, it runs directly into the engine, so that would have to come out and turn back over this direction real abruptly. So not sure about that. Good thing is these turbos swivel. You can put them actually anywhere, and I can also rotate them on the base down here and tilt them in another direction, lean them in or out. So I have no idea at this point how I'm going to do that. The cold air intake from the turbos to the exhaust manifold, I have 4 of these to cut and splice and weld together and make this joint. So a lot to figure out, and it looks like I'm going to have some rework also. So I will need to figure out a lot of things. But that's it for tonight. It'll give me some time to look this over and think about it more, and then we will be back on the car tomorrow night. Well, a few things to update you on. I started running some fuel lines here and here, but I ordered some materials incorrectly. I only had one correct size fitting to go into the fuel rail. You can see I've just got this one taped here, just kind of holding it to get a length on that line when I cut it. I misordered those parts, so I've got to reorder to get the correct size AN fittings. I guess I looked up the wrong size fuel rails when I was seeing what fittings I needed to buy. Some of the parts are also on back order. The fuel pressure regulator and the fuel filter are on back order, so they'll be here in a few more days. And until I receive the back ordered parts and the parts that I ordered incorrectly, I'm kind of at a standstill on the fuel lines. I've also been playing with the turbos, and I think I have figured out the correct way to mount those. I've moved them all around in different directions and even switched them from left to right from the way I originally had them. And this is pretty close to the way I want to mount them. It gives me a good line of sight here for fresh air to come over from the side and in. The exhaust can come back and bend back to wherever I need it to go, and I'm not sure where that's going to be just yet. The only thing I know is I want to keep it out of the center area here because I want to try to leave a little bit of trunk space. Locating the turbos here was causing some interference with this mount for the front of this X brace, so I had to remove those mounting tabs, and once I have the wastegates welded in here, which is what was interfering with that front tube, then I'll know exactly where I need to reposition a new one, but it'll weld back in this area somewhere, and I'll have to remake that X brace to fit. I hate rework, but it's almost impossible not to have some when you're scratch building a car like this. But I believe the turbos will work here. I can't start on the cold air side where it comes into the intake manifold here until I order a couple of more pieces. I'm missing some fittings, and I don't know the exact radius or diameter of those parts, so I can't start cutting and fitting those yet. I'll have to order some parts here in a day or two so we can start finishing up the plumbing on the cold air side. And so until those parts come in, I'm kind of at a standstill on the turbos. I also need to order some fittings and oil lines to feed and for return oil back to the oil pan for the turbos, but I'm not quite sure what I need to order there. I've got to do some research. And in the meantime, the only other thing I have to work on right now is trying to fit this instrument panel in the car where I can see it. It doesn't seem to be a good place to sit it. No matter where I put it, the steering wheel is interfering with part of the screen, which I was expecting, but it's interfering a little bit more than I was hoping for. Let's see. My line of sight is about right here, what you're seeing in the camera. So it's blocking the top of the tack. Now I can shrink the tack, obviously, and put it in that field of view. And I may have to. That may be all of the screen I'm able to view and use. And if it is, I'll just have to modify and adjust it accordingly. But I'm trying to find a better place to put this. There may or may not be one, but this is a screen. This is just one instrument that I designed in Photoshop, just trying to get an idea of what it's going to look like. Something that's not copy pasted off of a picture. When you do that, they kind of wash out and get really light colored, but this was made in Photoshop, so it's more realistic and the colors are more vivid and pop. I hope you can kind of see that on the camera. That looks pretty decent. I'm happy with that. Just got to design the rest of the panel layouts and all the instruments. That's going to take some time, but before I can do that, I've got to know exact placement of this screen and know exactly how much of the screen I can see and use to design the instrument panel. But I'll see you guys again in 1 week, where we'll be working on hopefully some of these missing items and try to get some more things accomplished. See you in 1 week.